for all bad, so I found out. Insurance.
Morning.
People sort of made this person had no recollection of months of their life. Talk to Sanhedrin. Talk to Harry Grant. Those are the two guys to talk to. But they're not going to listen to me. I don't have a big, I'm not a big fan. They think they know everything, and I've seen that I don't agree with stuff they've done. But I'm not a trick, so I don't, let's say that I'm right. And I know that,
You call out of the blue, you need to see psychiatrist. That's the way.
well, it's like I'm trying to get somebody into a psych bed. I mean, it's impossible. They're back up in the ER for days. We have kids on the floor we can't replace. It's not good all around, but I'm not a big fan.
No, psychiatrist. She's also a neurologist that you can see. Which is good, especially they have.
Those are good. Two groups of people who went to the psychiatrist when I was in med school. One were really, really compassionate people. And were great and really cared. The other one was crazy. Honestly.
All they do 99,
Yeah.
You see the people, you're good, you're working, more or less.
Well, I know some people have been pretty mismanaged, unfortunately. And for that exact reason that the diagnosis was missed for 10 years
One of mine,
because
16 or 17 different meds.
it's all, they didn't sit down long enough to try and make the correct diagnosis.
And sometimes it's not something, they go to different doctors and they get different meds.
No, I know some stuff that I'm not real happy about. People have tried to help. But I can mention it. It's not gonna do a damn bit of good. I can tell you now.
Who you?
Their goal is to get them out of there.
Yeah.
Right there. That's their goal. At least that's my perception of their goal. I'm not a big fan of
I
this.
saw a kid last night. Opposition to buying impulse control.
Morning.
I was praying, and I remember the kid took himself off of this.
I have a friend in LA who's got a kid like that. He was in his early 20s, and they think he might, in retrospect, had Canada, even though he can't reliable now, he might have Canada, which is, some people believe in it, some people don't. It's a sequelae of strep throat.
Oh, really?
And some people think, more people are thinking now that it can cause some neurologic stuff, and if you treat it with gabapentin antibodies at the time, you have a much better chance of keeping it under control. So this kid's actually being treated and getting a little better. He's in his 20s, but he's been through, hell,
But he's been on that.
he's been on that for 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, he's not perfect now, but
You can't treat someone like that without being on that.
correct.
That is not.
The question is what started it. That's interesting, because it might have been something like that. I'm not a big fan of a couple of the inpatient guys there.
Morning, Rabbi. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I'm not a big fan of
Yeah,
that.
forward.
But I don't, I have to dominate. Okay.
Morning, Rabbi. Good fight.
Good. Sorry. My strap is a little long.
We don't say a good. Look at this.
Yeah, either one. That's right. All right, Rabbi, say good morning. Let's begin. So our shir this morning is dedicated by Mr. Isaac Samuel, in memory of his beloved wife Esther Bas Rabbi Shmuel Silber. And Talmud Torah and Shmuel have an aliyah in the family of Chama. Also dedicated by Aaron Yudi Ben Zev in honor of the Mishpacha and in honor of the Kiddush. So let's begin. Today's daf is Saturday. A lot to do today. 96, and we are picking up on Tzadik Hamid base 95b. 4 lines up from the bottom. If it were not the pasuk, if the pasuk didn't say it, we wouldn't even be able to utter it. What is he referring to? So the Gemara over here is referring to a pasuk in Sefer Yeshaya. Bayomahu, on that day, Yigalach Adonai b'tar haschira ba'avre hanar abemelech Hashur es harosh v'sahar raglayim v'gam es hazakon tisper. So it will be on that day that the master. Now we'll see if the master, who the master refers to. We'll go ahead and we'll cross over the river of the king. We'll go ahead, we'll have head on his hair, head on his legs, and on his beard, and it will all disappear. What does this refer to? It says the Gemara. So remember, at this point in time, this is following up on the heels of the episode of Sanhedrin. So remember again, at this point in time now, Sanhedrin has been defeated, his entire army wiped out. He's now traveling back again with nothing. So the Baruch Hu appears to Sanhedrin as a Saba, as an old man. My Amrit, tell me, when you go back home and you have to face the kings of the east and the west, and you've had all of their sons killed in the course of battle, what are you going to say to them? In other words, you got everybody to go to war with you under the promise of victory. Now that victory is not going to happen, so tell me, what are you going to do? What are you going to say to them? So the Gemara says, so Sanhedrin says, to be honest, I'm very scared. I don't know what to say. So the Sanhedrin says to the old man, again, not knowing the old man is a Baruch Hu, what should I do? So top of Tzadik Vav. So the old man says to Sanhedrin, maybe better that you wear a disguise. Better that you change your appearance. This way, again, no one will recognize you. So how should I change my appearance? So why don't you go ahead and bring me scissors, and I'll give you a haircut. I'll give you a haircut. I'll give you a haircut. Literally, Rashi says, I'll shave you. I'll give you a haircut. Change your appearance. Where should I go ahead and bring scissors from? Go into that house over there. They'll give you scissors. So the Gemara says that angels went into that malachim went into that home and took on the appearance of men. And they were sitting in the house grinding up date pits. So Sanhedrin says to the malachim, again thinking that they're men, can you give me scissors? If you help us grind up 1 measure of date pits, so we'll go ahead and we'll give you the scissors. So what happens? If you have a mispera, so they ground up one giura of date pits, and they went in and they gave him the scissors. By the time he got the scissors and he came back to the old man, it was already dark. So he said to the old man, so the old man said to him, excuse me, go ahead and bring me a candle, so I can give you the haircut. So he went ahead, Sanhedrin went and he got a candle. See, as he was walking with the candle, he was blowing on it just to fan the flame a bit. So the fire caught in his beard. And it turns out that on that day, Sanhedrin had his beard cut and his hair cut. So what's happening over here? So first of all, again, understand in the times of the Navi, it was even true later on. So beards weren't just a Jewish thing, right? The beard was a sign of honor by many. So the idea, Sanhedrin was willing to get the haircut, but he didn't plan on cutting his beard. Now it turns out that his entire beard is gone and it was singed off. The idea over here is the mashal of the Gemara is how Sanhedrin was debased, how he suffered such an incredible downfall. He was so arrogant, so haughty, so high. Remember, this is the man who piled the rugs to look over the walls of Yerushalayim and waved his hand dismissively, by the Harabayis, by the Beis Hamikdash, and now again he has a singed beard and a bald head. So the idea is how the mighty have fallen, how the Bali Gaiva have been brought down. So the Gemara says, this is where the popular adage comes from. I don't think it's as popular today, but if you look at Rashi for just a moment, Rashi says, if you singe, if you burn the Aramean, and he doesn't complain, burn his beard also, and you won't run out of things to laugh at. Okay, it loses something in the translation, but all right, good. It says Gemara weiter. Says you're not going to believe this Gemara. You're not going to believe this Gemara. So Sanhedrin realizes that he is in trouble. Right at the end of the day, he realizes he's in big trouble. I mean, not just big trouble because he lost, but big trouble because he's got to go home now. What exactly, as the old man, the Yibon Shalom told him, what are you going to say to all the bereaved parents? What are you going to say to all of the money in the kingdom that you spent? What are you going to say? He's got serious sorrows. So it's like, get ready for this. He finds a plank of wood from the Teva of Noach. I'm sure there are some statisticians in the rooms, but again, what are the odds on a 7.5-year cycle of reading this Gemara on Erev Shabbos Noach? Erev Shabbos Noach. Sanhedrin finds a plank of wood from the Teva of Noach. How he knew it was a plank of wood from the Teva of Noach is irrelevant right now. So the Gemara says like this. So Sanhedrin worships the plank. He says this plank is a great God. This plank is a great God. Why? Because this plank saved Noach from the flood. In other words, it was like Sanhedrin was attributing divine prowess to the Teva and not to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I was saying, now why is that? Sanhedrin saw the mighty prowess of God. So what's happening over here? You see a dramatically incredible lesson, which is there are some people who just don't want to see reality for what it is. There are some people who are so desperate not to see the MS because the MS is too overwhelming. The MS is going to require them to make too many changes, whatever it is. So they will do anything and everything in their power not to see the MS. Sanhedrin has been brought to his knees by the Ribono Shel Olam. Yet he will not recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Better to go ahead and start praying to a plank of wood than it is to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what happens? So he makes a deal with the plank of wood. He says, Teva, here's the deal. If you allow me to be successful, I will offer my 2 sons to you as a carbon. Okay, good deal. There's only one problem. Shamu Banoi. His sons heard this. Now his sons understand we're adults. His sons were by his side in the battlefield. His sons went out to war with him. So his sons just said, sir, Dad just said he's going to sacrifice us if he is successful. So what happened? The Katlua. His sons murdered him. So at the end of the day, Sanhedrin's story ends by the hands of his own sons. Again, to their defense, they also heard their father was willing to offer them, was willing to sacrifice them. Therefore, again, they end up killing him. Says the Gemara, that's why the pasuk says that he was bowing down Bayis Nisroch. The Gemara says that Bayis Nisroch is a reference ultimately again to the plank of the Teva. Incredible. So we'll say now we're transitioning a little bit. We're up to Avram Avinu. There's actually next week's parasha, Avram Avinu. So we'll say, so again, what happens? Again, this week's parasha, next week's parasha, amazing. So this is when Avram Avinu was going to war against the 4 kings. So the pasuk says, "Vayichalik aleim laila." Literally, the night was divided for them. Avram and his servants, and he smote them. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Osa malach shenizdami Avram laila shmo. The malach who helped Avram in his war against the 4 kings, the name of the malach was Laila. Shneimar V'halayla amar hora gever. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha amar sha'asi imo ma'isa layla. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha said no. That what it means is that the Ribono Shel Olam or the Malach helped Avram Avinu with ma'isa layla. What does it mean ma'isa layla? That even the stars helped Avram Avinu in his fight against the four kings. We'll say there's a lot of metaphorical meaning to each of these particular statements. We'll have to find the time to come back to it. Shneimar min shemayim nilchamu hakocham mimislo sam nilchamu im Sisra. So the Gemara says, Amar Rish Lakish, Tava dinafcha midbar naf. Excuse me. Amar Rish Lakish, Tava dinafcha midbar nafcha. So Rish Lakish says the words of the blacksmith are better than the words of the son of the blacksmith. So ultimately, again, a reference to Rabbi Yochanan, who was called Bar Nafcha. He was called Bar Nafcha. So he was saying that the words of Rabbi Yochanan were better than the words of Rabbi. The words of Rabbi Yitzchak were better than the words of Rabbi Yochanan. Vayirdav ad Dan. So remember, Avram Avinu pursues the four kings up until Dan. Rabbi Yochanan came and Shepahus ad Dan. As soon as he gets to the tribal area of Dan, Tashash Kocho. Ultimately, again, Avram Avinu's strength lessens. Why? Because Avram Avinu saw that his descendants would be worshipping Avodah Zarah in Dan. When was there Avodah Zarah in Dan? Shneimar vayosem esa'echa bebeis el ve'esa'echa nasan bidan. So we'll say, remember again, the Gemara says, the Navi says, that when Yeravam ben Nevat becomes first king over Melech Yisrael and the kingdom is split, the first order of business is he installed golden calves within the boundaries of Malchus Yisrael. He said to the Jews, "This is your God." Why did he do that? He didn't actually believe it himself. The reason he did it was because he did not want his constituency ascending to Yerushalayim, because he felt that if they went back to the Beis Hamikdash, it was only a matter of time until they unite under the Davidic banner. So therefore, again, Avram Avinu saw prophetically there was going to be institutionalized Avodah Zarah in Dan, and therefore his strength waned right there. This is amazing. So too, again, Sanhedrin only came into his full strength when he got to Dan, meaning Sanhedrin was fueled by the future Avodah Zarah in Dan. Shneimar midan nishma nechra suso. I'm going to say the afagav the shalach and we don't say even hizaru b'zakim sheshachach tamudo machmas onso. So what's like now the Gemara says over here that Rabbi Zera says that Rabbi Yehuda ben Zera so used to espouse a number of teachings. Number one, hizaru b'zakim sheshachach tamudo machmas onso. Be very careful with the Talmud Chacham, with an old man who has forgotten his learning. Abmi onso. We'll say onso means extenuating circumstance. If you look at Rashi says about 10 lines up from the bottom of the right-hand column. Rashi says, "Hizar b'zakim, afapi sheshachach tamudo, horil umachmas onso." We'll say if a Talmud Chacham forgets his learning, machmas onso. Machmas onso means because of extenuating circumstances. Ultimately, again, you still have to give him kavod as a Talmud Chacham, because at the end of the day, again, he lost his learning. It sounds like dementia or Alzheimer's. See, even someone who has lost their learning, again, they're still kedusha to the person, and therefore you must be mechabedim. V'yizaru b'vridin, Rabbi Yehuda, and be careful with the vridin. So we'll see this in Chulin, but there's a machlokus when it comes to the shechting of birds, a fowl. So we don't know that you have to shecht the kana leveshet, the trach in the esophagus. By birds, there's vridin. There's two different major blood arteries on the side of the neck. So this machlokes, if you have to go ahead and cut those as well. So Rabbi Yehuda says you should be machmir and cut the vridin as well. V'yizaru, both say first wide line of the widest lines. V'yizaru b'bnei amei haaretz. Both say listen to this statement and be careful with the children of Amaratzim. Be careful with the children of Amei haaretz. Shemehem teitzei Torah, because Torah will ultimately come from them. Both say you hear this dramatic statement. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Hizoru b'mnei amei haaretz shenasu talmidei chachamim lahasos lahem kavod shemehem teitzei Torah liyisrael shariyatzu shmai avtayim b'mnei barav shel Sanhedrin b'mnei barav shel. Listen to this. We're going to see in just a little bit. The Gemara says something absolutely amazing. Just know that sometimes the greatest Torah for Klal Yisrael doesn't come from the children of talmidei chachamim, but rather it goes ahead and it comes. He's been here before. He's been here before. He's gone for 2 days. Give the guy a break, you know. So you've said a baby. So the idea over here is that sometimes the greatest Torah doesn't come from the children of Gedolim, but rather again it comes from the children of Talmidei. There's a lot to be said about this in general, again, in general, about how sometimes the children of great people have incredible personal difficulty emulating their parents and following in those footsteps, because sometimes the shoes are simply too large to fill. So sometimes, again, the greatness in Klal Yisrael is actually found not in the children of great people, but sometimes in the children of ordinary people. Well, we'll have to go back to this concept. So the Gemara says, we'll see why the Gemara is bringing this down. Kiha milsa modinolo. So the Gemara says the following: Sadik atu Hashem ki arav elecha ach mishpatecha daber oscha maduach derech rishon tzalicha. So we'll say here the Gemara is quoting from the pasuk from Yirmiyahu. So Yirmiyahu is not complaining, but Yirmiyahu is questioning the Ribono Shel Olam. He says, Sadik atu Hashem, Ribono Shel Olam, you are exceptionally righteous. Ki arav elecha ach mishpati daber osach. I'm going to speak strongly to you. Maduach derech rishon tzalicha. Ultimately, again, why is it that the pathway of the wicked goes in and successful? So I'm sorry. So Kobogde Beged, Nitatem Gam Sharashu Yelchu Gam Asu Peri, Karov Atabafim Barachok Mikil Yosea. So the Gemara says the following. I read it as the passage. Maya Hadrulay, so what does the Chudash Baruch Hu? So Yirmiyahu now he's asking, like, what's going on? Why is it that the Risham are able to succeed? Maya Hadrulay. So what does the Ribono Shel Olam respond? Ki es raglayim ratzesa v'yalaucha ve'ich tischar es asusin ube'eretz shalom atavoteach ve'ich taseh v'gaon hayarde. So we'll say, so what does this mean? Mashallah adam echad. So Yirmiyahu asks Ribono Shel Olam, why is it that the Risham succeed? Why is it that you always allow the Risham to prosper and yet the tzaddikim suffer so much? So the Ribono Shel Olam gives him this very strange answer. With feet you will run. Will you ever be able to catch up with the horses? Mashallah adam echad sha'amar. Yochal ani larotz gimel parsos l'pnei. We'll say the mashal is like this. There was once a man who said, I could run 3 parsos, which is a pretty significant distance, and I could run faster than horses. I could race against the horses and I'll win. Bein bitzei amayim, and I could even do it so even if it's on marshland. The assumption is it's harder to run on a marshy area than it is to run on flat land. So what happened? So there was a guy who wanted to race against this individual. So sure enough, the individual who spoke up the first time ran. He ran 3 mil, which is much smaller than 3 parsos, on flat land, and he was exhausted. So he just boasted before that he could run 3 parsos in front of horses, even on marshland. And he ran 3 milim on dry land against another person, and he was not much exhausted. If you're exhausted racing against another person, well, then once you're going to be exhausted racing against the horses. And if you're exhausted after 3 mil, you're suddenly going to be exhausted after 3 parsos. If you're exhausted running on flat land, all the more so you're going to be exhausted running in marshes. So essentially, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Yirmiyahu Hanavi was, you can't keep up with me, which is another way of saying you don't understand me. You're questioning me because you are interpreting my actions through the lens of your human understanding. But that's flawed. That's flawed. You don't understand me. You don't understand who I am. You don't understand what I am, and as such, you'll never understand my ways. But the Ribono Shel Olam says something amazing. He says again. He says so too. This is amazing. So because of the 4 steps that Sanhedrin took, Sheshilamti la'osa rasha, Sheratz achar kavodi, ato tmiya, kishni mishalim schali Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sheratzu lefanai, kisusim alachas kama v'kama. Sanhedrin is successful. I gave him success because of the 4 steps he took in my honor. Can you imagine the schar that Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, who constantly ran before me like horses, the schar they're going to get? This is the meaning of the pasuk. Again, from Sefer Yirmiyahu, where the pasuk says, "Lanavim nishbar libi b'kirbi rachvu kol atzmosai hayisi ki shikor ukegever avaro yayim mitnei Hashem umitnei divrei kadsho." Hanidala parsos mai. So the Gemara made reference to the 4 steps that Sanhedrin took in the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what is that? Tichsil. We'll say, listen to this case. Ba'Isahi. Shalach, Merodach Baladon Bein Baladon Melech Badam. It was at this time that Merodach Baladon, that's his name, Ben Baladon, the son of Baladon, we'll discuss the strange name, who is the king of Babel, sent a letter. He sent a letter. Now, he sent a letter to King Chizkiyahu, because Chizkiyahu was sick and then he was healed. So the king of Babel sent him a letter. I don't understand. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. Because Chizkiyahu got sick and was healed, the king of Babel sends him a letter. Meaning, what's the pshat? To which the Gemara says, in Lidrosh Esamofes Asher Haya Ba'aretz. Yes, because the king of Babel witnessed an incredible miracle that occurred in the merit of Chizkiyahu. Therefore, he realized that Chizkiyahu was a great man, and therefore he felt it behooved him ultimately to send him a letter wishing him a mazel tov on his refuah shalem. Don't Rabbi Yochanan, I want to listen to this. Also, Yom Shameis Mo Achaz, Shtei Shaos Haya. The day that Achaz, remember, Achaz was an exceptionally evil king. The day that Achaz died, so the sun set early, and there were only 2 hours of daylight on that day. The Chizkiyahu, on the day that Chizkiyahu was healed, remember again, Chizkiyahu, what we learned just a few days ago, Chizkiyahu could have been Mashiach. We saw, but if you remember again, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, so we saw in Second Brachas that the reason Chizkiyahu wasn't Mashiach was because he didn't marry and tried to have a family. Why didn't he marry and try to have a family? Because he saw in Nebuah that if he were to marry and have a child, that son would be a Rasha. Now, remember again, at the end of the day, he's right, meaning he does get married, he marries Shaila's daughter, and he has a son by the name of Menashe, right? And Menashe was, as we learned before just a few days ago, an incredible Rasha. But the idea over here is that Chizkiyahu was healed. On the day that Chizkiyahu was healed, a miracle occurred, and there were an extra 10 hours of sunlight on that day. So what happens? So Baladon, so the king of Babel, Merodach Baladon, Ben Baladon, sees Gemara and says, my high, what's going on over here? Why are there 10 extra hours of sunlight on this day? So they told him, listen, here's what we heard. Chizkiyahu was sick, now he was healed, and in the merit of his being healed, or as part of his being healed, so ultimately the sun was, there was 10 extra hours of sun. The idea is we see this motif of the sun being a healing factor. We see that the first time where? By Yaakov Avinu, in the aftermath of the fight with the Malach Abisov. So ultimately, again, we saw there were 10 extra hours of sunlight. So Morodach Baladin hears about this. He says this, obviously, Amar Ika Gavra Kiyai, there's such a great man who lives my next door neighbor, and I'm not going to send him shalom, which is pretty amazing. Kasvulei, so we'll say, listen to this. Morodach Baladan penned a letter to Chizkiyahu, and it went like this. Kasvulei, Shalom Malamalka Chizkiyahu, so shalom unto you, King Chizkiyahu, Shalom Mekarti Yerushalayim, peace unto the city of Yerushalayim, Shalom Lalaka, peace unto your God. Lalaka Rabbo. Nebuchadnezzar, Safrei de Baladan Hava. So we'll say Nebuchadnezzar was one of the scribes of Merodach Baladon. And what happened? So Hahi Shaita Lo Havehasa. He was on break. Union. Right? He was on break. He wasn't there when they penned this letter. So what happens? Ki asa amar lahu hechi kasvisu. So when he came back, he's heard about the letter and he said, tell me, what was the text of the letter? Amarle, Hachi kasvina. So they told him, that's the letter. So Amarle, Karisu le elokar rabba. I don't understand you guys. You called the God of Israel great, yet you mentioned the God of Israel last. In other words, remember the letter read, Shalom unto you, King Chizkiyahu, Shalom unto you, Shalayim, Shalom unto your great God. So Nebuchadnezzar, who obviously was a frum individual, I don't understand. How can you call his God great, yet you put God at the end? So Amarle, Elahaki Kasov, this is how you should write the letter. Shalom Elokar, peace unto your great God. Shalom Mekardi Yerushalayim, peace unto the great Yerushalayim. Shalom Lamalka Chizkiyahu. Shalom on, then we put Shalom onto Chizkiyahu. Amrle, Kraina di Igarta Ihu lehavi Parvanka. We've had this phrase a number of times. Kraina di Igarta means he who comes up with the idea has the privilege to be the messenger. As we'll say, a profound yesod in life. Kraina di Igarta. If something is such a good idea to you, then what? Get it done. Don't come to me with ideas, right? If it's a good idea, get it done. So listen to this. We'll say, well, here's the problem. The problem is the letter's been dispatched. Let's say, get ready for this. Nebuchadnezzar runs after the courier. He runs after the courier in order to get the letter back and to rewrite it. So what happens? He ran Arba Psios. So what's it? They changed Arba Psios over here to Parsos. Let's see it. Okay, I don't know where it is on my page, but they changed it somewhere here. To Parsos. They ran after a good distance. Also, Garviel Va'okmin. They're both saying, this is very interesting. Garviel came along and stopped him. Now, stopped him, who the him seems to be machlokes among the Mefarshim. Some say that he stopped the courier, so Nebuchadnezzar was able to catch up. Others say he stopped Nebuchadnezzar, so Nebuchadnezzar was unable to run anymore. Why did he stop him? Rabbi Yochanan Omali Loba Garviel Ve'amidum L'Hayat HaKalos L'Sonin Shel Yisrael. And both saying something amazing. Had Gabriel not come along and stopped Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar would have been invincible. He would have been invincible. So that's the Gemara I was saying before. In the zechus of the four steps that Nebuchadnezzar took, he was able to go ahead and be successful against Klal Yisrael. Meaning that Nebuchadnezzar gives schar to all of his creations. So Nebuchadnezzar demonstrated an incredible covet for the Ribono Shel Olam, and the zechus of that covet, he was given power, might, and dominion over Klal Yisrael. Had he been able to take more steps, Chas v'Shalom, who knows what could have happened. My Baladan ben Baladan. Shabbos says, remember again when introduced to the Melech Bavel, Shabbos said, just as you should understand, the point the Gemara is making, we see many examples of this, is that the Ribono Shel Olam looks at every act that we do, big and small. And if he sees that our heart, if we have a desire to serve him, that desire to serve, even for a relatively small act, is exceptionally. Remember we saw this before, that we saw this by Eglon, Melech Moab. Eglon Melech Moab has a very famous granddaughter. Who's his famous granddaughter? Owned by the name of Rus. So the Gemara asks, why does Eglon merit to have a granddaughter, a great-granddaughter like Rus? Because remember again, when Ehud, the Navi, comes to assassinate Eglon, right? And he says, Eglon, I have a message from you for God. I have a message for you from God. What does Eglon do? He stood up. He stood up. Now, he was killed 5 seconds later. Ehud assassinated him. But the idea is he stood up when the prophet of Israel came to him with a message from God. And in that merit of standing up, that little display of kavod for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he merited essentially the Zayda of the Messianic line was a pagan king. All because he went ahead and he stood up for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So also this is so that even for small things, the Ribono Shel Olam looks at them and counts them as so much. All right, so my Balada ben Balada. Why does the king of Baba, why is he named Baladan ben Baladan? To which the Gemara says, Baladan Malka Hava Vishtaniape, the Habi the Kikava. Supposed to listen to this. I don't know exactly what this means, but Baladan was the king of Baba. Something happened to him. He was disfigured in some way, and he looked like a dog. So as a result, he can no longer rule. The king has to look nice. See, he was no longer able to rule. What happened? So his son, he abdicated the throne. His son became king. So we'll say whenever the son would sign, the son would use his name, which was Merodach, but he would also use his father's name. So Merodach Baladan ben Baladan, as the slave covered for his father. As what the pasuk means when it says that the son will honor the father and a servant will honor the master. So that a son will honor the father. That's what we just said. Who's the example of a servant honoring a master? The Siv. So the Gemara says over here that if you want to give an example of a servant who was dedicated to his master, the example of that is Nebuzaradan, who was called the chief butcher of Nebuchadnezzar. So what happens? He comes to Nebuchadnezzar in Yerushalayim. The Gemara says, I don't understand. Did Nebuchadnezzar Yerushalayim? Did Nebuchadnezzar actually ever step foot? This is amazing. See, I both say, we know Nebuchadnezzar is not the one. Nebuchadnezzar was the king who ordered the destruction of Yerushalayim, but he wasn't the guy that carried it out. It was Nebuzaradan. Nebuzaradan's general was the one who waged the successful military campaign against the Jews. So the Gemara actually passes over here that Nebuchadnezzar himself never even stepped foot in Yerushalayim. Vayalu osa amelech baba rivlasa. That also when King Chizkiyahu tries to escape from Yerushalayim and is apprehended. So they bring him to the king of Babel in Rivla. Where's Rivla? Vamari Abavo. Zu Antiochia. This Antiochia. I will say Antiochia is like Iraq, Turkey area. Meaning this is not the Eretz Yisrael. So you see that ultimately again, Nebuchadnezzar never came to Yerushalayim. Yet the Navi says that Nebuchadnezzar stood before Nebuchadnezzar in Yerushalayim. So what's going on? It's amazing. One says that Nebuchadnezzar had an image of Nebuchadnezzar, his Rebbe. It's probably his Rebbe. It was more like a Rebbe than a Rebbe. His Rebbe was engraved on his chariot. On his chariot. That's how much reverence he had for his Rebbe, that he had his image engraved on his chariot. Others say that he had such a fear and reverence of Nebuchadnezzar that it was as if he was standing in front of Nebuchadnezzar even while on the battlefield. Amarav, Ton Tlas Mea Kudnaisa, Naga de Parza, the Shalit de Parza. So what's this? Shalit Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar sends Nebuchadnezzar 300 iron axes, but the type of iron that could cut through other iron. The idea is they want to penetrate the walls of Yerushalayim. So what happens? Kulu balasinu chadadash Yerushalayim. All of the axes were broken on one entrance of Yerushalayim, so they could not get in. They broke all 300 of the axes on one door. Shnei Amar, as the pasuk says, Pisucha yachad b'kshil v'chalepos yahalomun. So the Gemara says, "Boile mehadar." Listen to this. Nebuchadnezzar wanted to turn back. Meaning, remember, this is not their first rodeo. Meaning, they saw what happened with Sanhedrin. They just broke 300 axes on one doorway. Something's not right over here. So Nebuchadnezzar says, "You know what? Maybe we should back it up." So Amar, Mistafina delo le'avdubi, kiechi de'avdu bis Sanhedrin. So because what happens? Nebuchadnezzar said that, I'm concerned that what's going to happen, they're going to do to me what they did to Sanhedrin. In other words, remember, Nebuchadnezzar saw this. He saw this. He says, I'm scared that if we continue to do this, God is going to take vengeance on us as well. Nafak kola va'amar, shavar bar shavar, Nebuchadnezzar and shavar demati zimna demikdash charev, ve'echale mikle. Pashtus Gemara says, a voice came out and said, shavar bar shavar. Let's say shavar means literally jumper or leaper, right? Jumper, the son of the jumper, right? The time has come for the Beis Hamikdash to be destroyed and the Heichal to go up in flames. So what happens? In other words, a Baskel comes out and says, call them a jumper because the idea is you could leap over these walls. There's nothing standing before you. It's time. And Moshe is saying, if I have decreed that the Beis Hamikdash is going to be destroyed, you are my messenger. Do not give up. Hashlei chad nargu. Also listen to this straight. He had one axe left. Machye b'kufa ve'iftach. So we'll say, what is amazing. So what did Nebuchadnezzar do? He took the blunt part of the axe, meaning not the axe head, but the handle. And he tapped the handle against the doors, and the doors flew open. Sheneh Emar. So we'll say, the idea over here being that at this point in time, the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash is Hashkachas Hashem. They're no longer getting through the doors with the axe head. They're getting through the doors with the blunt axe handle. So as the pasuk says, Sheneh Amar, Yivada Kemevi Lamala, Bisvach Eitz Kardumos. Havakatel Va'azil Adamachatel Lahechal. Both say this is amazing. So what happens? Nebuchadnezzar, both say, who is known as a butcher. They don't call him Nebuchadnezzar, Sar HaTzava. They call him Nebuchadnezzar Rav HaTabachim, the chief butcher. Nebuchadnezzar had a ridiculous bloodlust. We have a kina. We have a kina on Tisha B'Av morning that is devoted to Nebuchadnezzar. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar's bloodlust was specifically for children. Specifically to kill children. So he's a horrific, barbaric man. So the Gemara says over here that he's mamish killing everyone until he gets to the Beis Hamikdash. Adlik Beinura. He set the Beis Hamikdash aflame. Gava Hechala. So what happens? The Beis Hamikdash begins to ascend. The structure itself begins to lift up and go into Shemayim. What happens? Darchu Beimin Shemayim. And then the Rivan Shalom pushed it back down. It's almost as if the Beis Hamikdash wants to escape. The horrific atrocities of this world begins to ascend, and the Rivan Shalom pushes it back down. Sheneh Emar, Gat Derech Hashem L'Mesulas Bas Yehuda. Kazecha Daite. So Nebuchadnezzar begins to become very arrogant. because he thinks, look at this, I'm destroying the Beis Hamikdash, I'm mamish doing war with God. Nafka bas kava amrole, amo katila katalt, heichula kalya kalis, kimcha tachina tachinas. A dead nation you have killed, a destroyed Beis Hamikdash you have burnt, literally ground wheat you have already ground. In other words, what Basko was saying to the Vuzar is, you're not doing this. This is not you. This is me, God. I'm destroying the Beis Hamikdash. I'm killing members of Klal Yisrael. This is me. This is me. You are my staff. But don't for a moment think that this is your prowess or your abilities. This is me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shnei Amar, as the pasuk says, Kechirei chaim v'tachani kemach gali tzamsei chashvi shoval gali shok avinaro. Schitim lo ne'amar. The pasuk doesn't refer to Klal Yisrael as wheat, rather ela kemach as flour. What I see was saying you're grinding ground flour. In other words, the flour's already been made. The wheat's already been. I've done it already. You're just the agent. Chaza, we'll say, listen to this. Chaza damya v'zecharia dahavi karasa. We'll say, listen to this dramatic episode. Nebuchadnezzar comes into the Beis Hamikdash. He sees the blood of Zechariah. So remember again, 250 years earlier, Zechariah was the Navi and the Kohen Gadol. Zechariah is delivering the message of, if you don't get your act together, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to destroy you. We'll say the people had enough of this message, and what do? They killed Zechariah while he stood in the Beis Hamikdash. The blood of Zechariah was all over the Beis Hamikdash, and no matter how much they tried to clean up the blood, they could not clean up the blood. We'll say for over 200 years, the blood of Zechariah is sitting, bubbling in the Beis Hamikdash. Amrlu, my high. So Sanhedrin comes in, he says, what is this? Amrulei dam zvachim. So we'll say the Jews were too embarrassed to tell that the idea that, we'll say, in general, whenever chas v'shalom, a Jew rises up against the Jew, it's an unconscionable crime. We can't wrap our heads around that. We can have vociferous differences, but so they lied us. They lied Nebuchadnezzar. They say what happens? They say, oh, that's just sacrificial blood that's spilled. So the Nebuchadnezzar realizes something strange here. So what happens? I see, va'ansi. Why don't you bring me an animal? Let's shecht it. And I'm curious to see if the blood of the shecht animal is going to resemble this blood. So the Gemara says, below idni. So sure enough, again, they went ahead, kasi, they shechted the animal, and of course the bloods did not match up. Amalahu, Galili. You better tell me what this is. V'ilo sarikna luchulu b'sarchayo b'misreka de parzula. And if you don't tell me, I will take off your skin. I will literally remove your skin with iron combs. See, threaten them brutal torture. Amarle, high coin v'navi hu di'ibni le'yisra b'chorban Yerushalayim v'katlu. They said to Nebuchadnezzar, this was the prophet of Israel who prophesied to us about our destruction, and we killed him. Amarlahu, ana mefaisin. So Nebuchadnezzar says, I will appease or I will avenge the blood of the fallen prophet. We'll say, there is nothing more dangerous in life than self-righteous anger, right? Especially when you think you're doing something in the name of God, as we see, my sin before you. When people think they're acting in the name of God and they know the Ratzon Hashem, they know the Ratzon of God, you could do anything. See, here is so Nebuchadnezzar says, I will avenge the blood of the murdered prophet. I see Rabbanan, Hallelujah. He assembles the Sanhedrin, he murders the entire Sanhedrin right there by the site where Zechariah was killed. But the blood of Zechariah doesn't stop bubbling up. I see Dardik Idibera. What's it? He's so tragic. He brings school children. He murders them. Blood doesn't stop boiling. I see Pirchei Kuna. He brings the young Kohanim. He goes there and he kills them. And what happens? The blood doesn't stop. So the Gemara said, What's it? The Gemara says that Sanhedrin murdered 940,000 people. Now we know from the structure of the Beis Hamikdash that more than 1 million people died in the fall of Yerushalayim. So the Gemara is saying that Nebuchadnezzar killed 940,000 people. Gemara is attributing it to 940,000 people to appease the blood of Zechariah. So what happens? Nebuchadnezzar comes to the place of Amar, Zechariah. Tovim Shabani Baritim. So this is Nebuchadnezzar speaking. He says, Zechariah, I've killed out the best of Klal Yisrael. Do you want me to kill out the rest of the people to appease, to avenge your blood? Miyad nach. In that moment, the blood of Zechariah stopped boiling. So I will say, listen to this. Now, understand, if you're Nebuchadnezzar and you just saw this, so what do you realize? You just killed 940,000 people, but you also just realized that what? that obviously Klal Yisrael, there's something unique and special to this people. Meaning, there's a Ribono Shel Olam, there's a Zechariah Hanavi, and therefore, again, amazingly enough, here, tshuva b'daite. He did tshuva. In that moment, the Zaran does tshuva. Amar, umahim, we'll say first wide line, umahim shelo ibdu ela nefesh achos, kach, if Klal Yisrael, who killed only one person. In other words, look at they just 940,000 people were killed because of the murder of one person, Zechariah Hanavi. Who gavra mati havi alei. What's going to happen to me after I have so much blood on my hands? So we'll say, what's the end story of Nebuchadnezzar Ravat Tabachim? Arak, he runs away. Shadir Purtisa Lebeise. He said to Moshe like a will, like a last will and testament to his home. V'isgaire. And Nebuchadnezzar converts to Judaism. So we'll say, so amazingly enough, I'm right. The end of the narrative of the great butcher, the Babylonian butcher, is that he realizes again, after he shed all of this Jewish blood, he realized that ultimately, again, there is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He runs away and he converts. Ten Rabbanan. So we'll say the Gemara just a few more minutes. The Gemara just tells a couple of more stories of famous converts. Ten Rabbanan, Naaman. They will say Naaman was the chief general of Aram. Ger Tosha. He becomes a Ger Tosha. That Ger Tosha also means he doesn't convert, but he essentially renounces idolatry and goes ahead and accepts Shabbat Mitzvah Noach. Why? That was because he was healed by Elisha. He was healed by Elisha. Nebuchadnezzar Ger Tzedek. Nebuchadnezzar ultimately becomes a ger. This is what we'll say. Mibnei banav shal Sisra. So we'll remember again, Sisra. We read about Sisra on the first day of Rosh Hashanah in the Haftorah. Sisra was a mighty general who went ahead and had much Jewish blood on his hands. Yet again, his grandchildren converted into Yerushalayim. Mibnei banav shal Sanhedrin. We'll say the grandchildren, the Inklach of Sanhedrin, limdu Torah berabim, taught Torah to the masses. Who were the grandchildren of Sanhedrin? Uman and Ninhu, Shemaiah v'Avtalion. We'll say Shemaiah and Avtalion, we know are descendants of Gerim. It happens to be they were descendants of Sanhedrin. Mibnei banav shel Haman, lamdu Torah b'Bnei Brak. I will say the grandchildren of Haman learned Torah in Bnei Brak. Va'af mibnei banav shel Osa Rasha, biki shakadosh baruch hu lachnisan tachas kanfei Hashchina. I will say the grandchildren of Nebuchadnezzar also wanted to convert. So again, so the Malachim said, how can you accept the grandchildren of Nebuchadnezzar? The man who destroyed your Beis Hamikdash, the man who destroyed Yerushalayim. You're going to let his grandchildren come under the wing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why the pasuk said, Rafinu es Bavel v'lo nirpaso. Ultimately, again, that's why the pasuk says they wanted to heal Bavel, but Bavel could not be healed. A reference to the fact that the grandchildren of Nebuchadnezzar wanted to convert, but ultimately, again, the Malachim Sharis would not let them do so. Ula Amar, Ula says, actually refers to Nebuchadnezzar, Ula Amar, Zen Nebuchadnezzar. Rabbi Shmuel Barachmani Amar, Elu Naros Bavel, the Tirgama, the Tzainsa, the Bavloi. So we'll say, so again, so some say you wanted to heal Bavel, but Bavel couldn't be healed. That's reference to Nebuchadnezzar, who wanted, his grandchildren wanted to be healed by converting, but they were not allowed to be healed. Others say that it refers to the palm trees along the rivers of Bavel. They will say their fruits are very bitter, and again, therefore, they're not fit for consumption. So I'll just tell you, we'll have to stop over here for today just because of time. But it's not, you think to yourself, the Nebuchadnezzar converts, right? The grandchildren of Haman convert. We'll say it's not such an incredible chiddush. People are inherently good. Even though in last week's parasha, the pasuk said, actually in this week's parasha, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, actually last week's parasha, Adam Rabbi this week's parasha, Adam Rabbi that Kadosh Baruch Hu says, the man, right? So people often think that means that man is evil from his inception. It's not true. As we saw, man by definition is good. Rabbi Shmuel discusses this idea that man has koach. Man is given koach by a Kadosh Baruch Hu. The only shaila is how we decide to use that koach. So when you see people who commit incredible atrocities, you see people who do terribly horrific things, the one thing you could say about that person is what? They have koach. They have koach. They're choosing, unfortunately, to use their koach in a terribly horrific and barbaric way. But if they were to go ahead and rechannel that koach, there is no telling what and who they could become. So the notion ultimately, again, the notion that Sanhedrin, who was one of the mightiest rulers in the world, in the civilized world in his time, Sanhedrin, the king of Ashur, has grandchildren like Shemai and Naftalion, it's not such a chiddush. Sanhedrin obviously was a powerful man with a ridiculous amount of koach. He chose to channel it in a particular way. His offspring chose to take that familial koach and channel it in a different direction. As a result, we're able to go ahead and accomplish great things in Torah. The Ribono Shel Olam gives us koach. Well, so I just ended with this. We don't have time for a parsha thoughts. I'll just tell you this very quickly. The Levi Yitzchak says that every single day the Ribono Shel Olam gives us a burst of koach, what he calls a burst of shefa. And he says, depending where you're holding in life in that moment, that's where the shefa takes you. So if I'm in the middle of an avera, and the Ribono Shel Olam sends me down the burst of shefa, the burst of divine energy, then that'll give me koach to sin more. If I'm in the midst of doing something good and I get the shefa, I get the flow of the burst of divine energy, then that'll propel me to accomplish even greater things. The Rebbe says that's why it's so important. There's only one catch. What's the one catch I will say? The Ribono Shel Olam doesn't tell us, schedule your shefa delivery between 9 and 12, right? Meaning there's no window. There's no window. I don't know when I'm getting the shefa. Therefore, the Rebbe quotes the pasuk from Koheles. A person has to be in a constant state of preparedness. A person has to be in a constant state of spiritual preparedness because I don't know when the shefa is going to come. And if Chas Shalom, that shefa gets me, finds me, comes to me, when I'm in the midst of doing something that I really should not be doing, then oy vavoy, I lose out on the opportunity to use that energy to propel me upward. And instead, I'm going to use it to take me further downward. Therefore, in every moment, our clothing has to be white. In every moment, we have to be in a state of preparedness, so that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu does send us that shefa, we're able to utilize it, and we're able to allow it ultimately again to propel us even higher. I'll record the parsha of the Hashem a little bit later.